us this important session, and also this will continue for 3 days, and we will in 3 days you will come to know different aspects of land governance issues, policy challenges, and how challenging and interesting land issues and policies and processes, in what way the state intervenes, and how the
meeting
land
ID followed by the pound sign again.
will now this session will discuss about Forest Right Act. So far, how far it has progressed, what are the challenges, what are the issues, and how the forest rights are also generating a kind of rights among the forest dwellers and also tribals, and how far the bureaucrats have been successful implementing this program, and what are the challenges and resistances also among the bureaucracy, the establishment. So I'm sure we'll have discussion on this. We have 4 presenters. So I'm Pradeep Nayak. I belong to Odisha Administrative Service. Somehow little academically inclined about the land issues, land governance. So I'll be chairing the session. So now I first request Rishikesh Patil to please come and share a presentation. We'll have 10 minutes each. So thank you.
Hello. I'm Rishikesh from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and we are working on forest commons and governance. So there is a project going on, action research project going on there for like 3 years project, and we are in the second year of it, and we help community after their forest rights get recognized, how to they can develop plans and effectively manage forest resources. Sustainable forest resource management. We help them tap the full potential of forest resources, and whatever the difficulties or challenges they face, we try to collaborate with them to come up with a solution. And I am here to present that throughout our field work, whatever we have learned, that challenges that we have faced, so we decided, let's make a framework. Framework is a big word. Like, let's make a mold where we will fill in the challenges, or try to document our challenges and find connections in them. Are there any connections in their solutions, so that we can have help produce a knowledge where we don't reinvent the wheel. We can share this with the other communities, or from communities from other regions. So that it will help them get to know that what are the challenges the communities at other places are facing, and how that can framework be implemented or modified as per their local needs. So that's why we are here, beyond recognition, navigating post CFR governance challenges and developing a suggestive framework. So I'm Rishikesh, and he is my colleague Subhash. We will be presenting this. So what exactly this post management challenges? So our primary focus is into, after the claims or the rights get recognized, okay, we got land, what next? So whatever the management that we need to do, whatever the capacity building or the awareness that we need to do for the community, we are starting like identifying challenges with the stakeholders, different community level, bureaucratic level, and challenges with the sustainable forest resource management, and developing a suggestive framework. So this is a flow of this will be the flow of our presentation. And from our fieldwork to Murbad district in Murbad Taluka in Thane district of Maharashtra, and Pain Taluka of Raigad district in Maharashtra, and also exposure visits to other field sites. So based on this fieldwork and our literature review about the forest management, we have come up with challenges that the communities are facing at different levels, at community level, at bureaucratic level, and at the overall forest management. So first of all, why in the beginning I told that it's an attempt to create a mold where we can share the knowledge with the other communities, because we have observed on the field that even after the rights are recognized, the community's past experiences with the bureaucratic processes and the forest officials has created so much doubt in their mind that, oh no, we are not like engaging with the government systems or that. So that reluctance, is making them unable to tap the full potential of that, whatever the provisions are there, executive orders, legal frameworks. So that's why we need to come up with this mold and help the communities, share that, engage with the stakeholders and get what is rightfully yours. So with this intention, we started, okay, let's map this and develop into a framework. So action research interviews with government officials, activists, local NGO leaders and community members. So we started working on the field, but there were NGOs and leaders who were working there since like 40 years. So we interacted with them, also government officials who were very keen to work on forest rights. We also interacted with them. Based on these fieldwork and interactions, we have developed a more of a documentation or a framework that we try to put in front of you. So as I told earlier that as per the flow, the first is challenges with the community. And the first thing when we go to the field is about the awareness about the forest rights. As I earlier told that because of the reluctance towards engage with the government officials because of their past experiences, many other reasons, they feel like, okay, we don't know about these provisions and what government resolutions are there to provide or enhance our livelihood. What are the intentions of the state for implementing schemes and all that. So first challenge is what the awareness, like engaging with the community and convincing them that it's not a isolation or isolated intervention, like collaborate with or engage with the state or the other stakeholders like NGOs, CSR, and there are framework, there are provisions in law so that you can collaborate with other stakeholders. For example, as under section 5 of FRA and section 3(1), so they can have Gram Sabha as an agency which we can collaborate with CSR initiatives, which can collaborate with other organizations to undertake any initiatives to conserve forest. So as law encourages them or empowers them to take any initiatives that will help them conserve the forest. So in that section, they can collaborate with CSR. Okay, we are collaborating with CSR organization and we want funds or any kind of help that will help us conserve the forest. So such kind of provisions, when we tell them, okay, they're like, we were not aware of it. So first was the awareness, and and the second thing is the push factor, market versus, because of the livelihood crisis, they have to migrate, and that migration creates a gap, knowledge gap, like they lose their traditional knowledge, and the cultural they also lose their cultural significance when they migrate to the other part, just for the work in factory or any small livelihood options that they can find in other places. So these market forces, but lack of awareness and past experience with the forest officials creates a doubt about the legal structure. So these are the challenges at the community level. So what we can do with this? So first of all, engaging with them, convincing them that these are the provisions, and whatever has already done in other areas. For example, in our exposure visit to Chandrapur, we visited Vasala Makta, is a village name in Chandrapur, where we got to know how they have successfully implemented all the provisions and stopped like almost 100% migration. Like they are not migrating to other places just to live. They are able to successfully generate a livelihood on their forest land, and they are able to generate a sustainable livelihood from their whatever the legal provisions are there. For example, as I already told, FRA allows collaborate with CSR and all. In 2021 in Maharashtra, there is a government resolution which allows Gram Sabhas to register as a MG Narega agency. So whatever the Gram Sabha decides that to take any developmental work, let's say plantation drive, so that can be registered under MG Narega. So for plantation, they can get MG Narega money and other benefits of the government schemes related to that. So similarly, we convince the communities that okay, these are the successful examples, and if you do the same, there is a possibility that you will be also able to enhance your livelihood, and you don't have to migrate and work in a precarious conditions at urban places. Okay, huh. So these are the just key actions that to convince community, the community orientation sessions, skill-based training and workshops, informational material and visual aids. So like typical intervention strategies we use, like showing them the documentaries, showing them the other case studies, showing them the successful stories from the other places, so that they get convinced that okay, there is something that we can do and go ahead with this plan. Yeah. So that was about the awareness and help convincing them to get engaged with the intervention. Second was the ecological and forest resource management challenges. As I already mentioned while talking about the challenges at the community level, loss of traditional knowledge, migration, overarching impact of climate change, deforestation, land diversion, and challenges with the mapping and documentation of resources. For example, because of the livelihood crisis, one family travels to the urban area, and that family gets disconnected with their tribal hamlet or their largest community, and there is no knowledge sharing happening on a regular basis, and there is a high possibility like they will lose. Their children won't be aware of the how to navigate through that forest space or how to own that forest space. So these are interconnected. For example, migration leads to loss of traditional knowledge, and also deforestation and overarching impact of climate change. What happens is, whatever the species, plant species they used to harvest or utilize for their livelihood, that goes extinct because of the climate change and other overarching impacts of global dynamics, we can say. So these are the ecological forest resource management challenges. So how we can convince community, or how can go about these challenges? So resource mapping and sustainable planning objective. As CFRMs, community forest resource management committees are there, they have to make plans, and government helps them make those plans and implement it through engineering and other convergence schemes. So we have to okay, I will move forward as there is a limitation, time limit. So we can help the community map the forest resources. This is the most important point here. Map the resources at the forest, like stock map, like whatever the species we have, how much we have, how much plants we have, what species we have on our forest land, and we have to create a knowledge base, a map, a documentation of that our forest resources, whatever the species we have, what we can do about it. That's the next step. First we need to map, document what we have, then what we can do about it. That's the next step. So yeah, once we get to know what we have, the next step is how can utilize that to get a generate a livelihood or economic activity. For example, Tendupata we have mapped this much Tendupata we can harvest. Okay, let's think about the market linkages. How can we Gram Sabha can be empowered, or the middlemen can be reduced, cut of middlemen can be reduced. So these are the next steps we can help the community with. First is to map the resources, then is to process or what we can do about those resources to get livelihood or the economic outcomes. Yeah, next. Yeah, next step is so one of the key thing here is about the integration with the convincing the community that the market forces will be affecting them, but most important thing is you have to know about your forest resources that you have. Once you are aware of your forest resources, then you can better think about how we can go about it, how we can process or generate livelihood out of the resources. So next, Subhash will be quickly explaining about the bureaucratic challenges, and we can go ahead with the presentation.
Hi, this is Subhash. I'm working as a project coordinator in the same project. We already crossed the limit. Just I want to bring a important aspect of this post CFR management, which is the bureaucratic level challenges. So the main challenges with bureaucratic level is like the rights are recognized, but after that there is a limited focus of the officials to the post CFRA management, and also there is a need of capacity building of the officials themselves. As we are working with the some ground level officials, government servants, they need the capacity building about that, and also there is like a need of comprehensive legal framework for the post CFR management, as Maharashtra government has a GR on the what should be the framework of that management plan, but other governments also need that framework for that management, and also there is an insufficient monitoring process. Like there are provisions in some GRs and government orders regarding the evaluation and monitoring the process, but it's not mandatory on the government official. That's why the process has not been followed off. Yeah, next up. Yeah. Just I will quickly on the capacity building and so establishing a dedicated team is we are suggesting. So which is already in Janjatiya Unnati Gram Abhiyan. They have suggested for the district FRSL, but we are I think there is also need of a block level FRSL which can also monitor the process at the block level. And then also the one of the important aspect is that we need a cross departmental capacity building training for the officials, because when it will be a cross departmental, then they can understand the challenges of each other, and in the legal framework there should be clear guidelines about the what is the responsibility of the which department, because of the there is a GR about the Manrega, but there is no provisions who will take that responsibility about the work. So there should be clear guideline in the legal framework itself. Yeah.
Because of the time limitations, we know the conferences are not just about the knowledge sharing, it's also about the networking. So we can always informally outside connect and discuss the intervention processes and what are the learnings. So here we just wanted to conclude that this framework is not just an quick solutions to, but creating a space for knowledge sharing where we don't reinvent the wheel. We just share knowledge across the globe, India, and like so that we don't repeat the mistakes, so that we don't reinvent the wheel. And well, I request you all to collaborate, connect, and feel free to connect with us. Last time. Yeah, we are always open to connections and to collaborations. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rishikesh and Suhas. Very informative presentation. So now the next two scholars, please come. Aditi and Aditi Bajpai. Please come, Aditi.
Hi everyone, I hope I'm audible. This is Aditi and I'm going to talk about a particular scheme called Green Credits Program, which was launched last year. And let's keep this scheme in mind, and this scheme is going to try to do something through this presentation. We are going to look how a certain regime of shifting forest policies has been introduced in the past couple of years and how that impedes the scope of democratic governance of forest. My co-partner in this research is Vijay Kolinjewadi, who is not here. He's from Concordia University. Can you move to the next slide? The outline of this entire discussion is, first we are going to spend some time in understanding what is Green Credit Program. The second part is we are going to look into the institutional and historical evolution of this program and situate it in the broader forest architecture of Indian government. And third, we are going to look how this particular scheme waters down the democratic space which Forest Rights Act created for the governance and management of forest. And the last point that I'm going to come on is the implications of this particular kind of scheme or certain kind of policy changes. So what is Green Credit Program? Green Credit Program was notified last year in October 2023 by the Ministry of Environment. It is institutionalized under Environment Protection Act of 1986 and it is inscribed into Mission Life. Mission Life, many of you may know, is a flagship program of Prime Minister Modi, where the whole idea is hinged about individual pro-planet environment-friendly actions. That to tackle climate change, to respond to climate change, we need to sort of incentivize individual pro-planet actions. And Green Credit Program sort of gets its anchor from those kind of discourses. What is Green Credit Program? As it has been declared and called, it's an innovative market-based mechanism designed to incentivize voluntary environment actions. This particular program covers 8 sectors of environment, from reduction in pollution to waste management to mangrove restoration to tree plantation to water harvesting. There are 8 different sectors which revolve around the environment. But this particular program is intended towards mobilizing private entities, corporates, individuals to engage in positive actions. To take a pause, what does an environment positive action mean? My friend previously was talking about forest dependent communities. Communities who have been dependent historically for forest, are they not pro-planet? So when does this onus of proving yourself that you are pro-planet emerge in a policy discourse is something that we are seeing in a very neoliberal context in today's policy discourse. Now, what is a green credit? The government says, as per its notification, that once you engage in these pro-planet, environment-friendly activities, you will be rewarded with green credits. Who will reward? How will this happen? A methodology will develop based on specific sector. And who is going to be the main agency looking after this program is the Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education. Now, 8 sectors from pollution to waste management, why do we have a forest institute who becomes the nodal agency is a very legitimate question. Now, since I was mentioning GCP covers 8 sectors, I want to bring our focus to GCP and forestry sector. That how does Green Credit Program interlinks or influences the forestry sector? Now, one thing for us to take into consideration is that this is not a new scheme, not a novel program. This scheme was actually first conceptualized in 2008. And I will come to that part. But this scheme was first imagined in 2008, specifically in regard to privatizing tree plantations. And in 2023, after the scheme was launched, we again see that the entire push has been on tree plantation-based green credits. The first methodology which gets formulated is for tree plantation-based green credits. Now, what is this tree plantation-based green credits that this scheme is talking about? This scheme promotes plantation on a specific category of land, which is degraded land. And we all in this room are well aware that degraded lands are not wastelands, not lands where nobody is using it. These are lands which have had a historical, social, ecological relationship. People have been using, depending, grazing these lands for various reasons. But just identifying and categorizing these lands as degraded lands, wastelands by the forest department and then giving it to private players to sort of increase plantation on them is one of the fundamental aspects of tree plantation based green credits. Now, how will this happen? The government says that the green credit can happen through 2 frameworks. One is that you comply with the existing framework, which is the compensatory afforestation, CAMPA scheme. That CAMPA is already undertaking plantations, you can just integrate and converge and get credits for it. The second is, and this is very important, is for the public sector or private companies to use their ESG compliance or CSR framework. Now, every company has that. Every company, to continue its emission, to continue extraction, to continue any kind of activities that it is committed to, has to also invest in the CSR activities. Now, this opens a vast ambit of activities which the company can readily jump into and also get awarded for, also get credited for. Then how will this tree plantation happen? A very interesting thing happened in February 2023. The government notified a methodology saying that if you plant 1100 trees per hectare, for each tree you will get 1 credit. a lot of environmentalists, for retired forest officials, forest rights members start questioning this and said, how can you come up with this methodology? What is the science or rationale behind this methodology? With a few modifications saying that you have to also take into consideration indigenous species, you have to also see the local soil conditions. The changes were made, but the 1100 trees per hectare and 1 tree will give 1 credit that remained into the final methodology. Now we already know, I will come to the implications later, but what is this green credit program in regard to forestry sector? It has created a specific digitalized portal called as Green Credit Registry. You all can just Google it after this. It's called Green Credit Registry. You Google it, you go it. On that blog, you being a private player or any corporate can go and sort of register that I am looking for a tree plantation activity. And the forest department will identify degraded forest lands from different states and upload the data there. So it's a very private company and department based interface. Which community is going to use in a very remote village this particular platform to do environment friendly activities which they've already been doing before that. Yeah. Now, what does GCP intends to do? What is the outcome that Green Credit Program wants to achieve? As per the official website, this particular program wants to increase the tree and forest cover. The second thing it wants to do is build an inventory of degraded land under the control and management of forest department. Now, if we look at, just deconstruct this particular sentence, control and management of forest department, that is the fundamental thing that Forest Rights Act changed in 2006 by introducing the authority of Gram Sabha and community and saying that the authority to conserve, to manage, and to protect and to govern the forest and natural resources is with the community, and it is envisioned in a community forest rights based framework. In 2023, we see a drastic shift of promoting private interest and taking the control again from the community into the hands of the state and corporate nexus. What we also see is a misclassification of land, where Forest Rights Act tries to incorporate different kinds of forest land. We again see that this scheme tries to taxonomically put land into different categories in terms of hierarchies. This is good land, this is bad land, this land is not of use to value, without consulting people, whether they think it's degraded or not for them. So the power to decide which land is degraded also goes back in the hands of the same state and corporate nexus. Thank you. Now, this scheme has come, but this scheme is situated in a broader institutional and policy shift, which is targeted towards certain things. The first thing that is targeted towards is that post-2006, since the Forest Rights Act has come, we have been talking a lot about challenges at local level, at community level, at implementation level, but there is a targeted shift or attack on watering down Forest Rights Act by again and again bringing a number of policy changes, legal changes. The second thing which we are seeing is that earlier, the finance and the power was only in the hands of the state. Since 2006 onwards, we are seeing a greater share of the corporates in accumulating that power. Who has the power of governance of forest, who is going to take the decisions, who will have more interest in forest. It's again the corporate. The third thing we are seeing is that the entire idea of Forest Rights Act and PESA-based governance is also finding a shrink space, because all these green credit schemes are also being introduced on the same land in the same area where a democratic format of governance is already in existence. And it may be very different in Northeast, where we have a different kind of governance mechanism. But the same market-based governing and management schemes are also coming in those areas. The fourth important shift we have seen is the process of techno-digitization. We are constantly seeing that Forest Rights Act imagines governance in a very local and democratic manner, where the community sits together, right? There was an image which he was showing where there is a map in between. But here we are seeing a long promotion of technology and digital interfaces. The last part that we are seeing is a commodification of forest resources and forest relations. that again and again we are seeing that the forest is being commodified, is being looked from a lens of carbon reductionist paradigm. Now, I just want to run quickly through this and just show that the number of institutional changes which have happened from 2006 when Forest Rights Act come to 2008 when the Green Credit Program gets first notified in Gujarat, first conceptualized by Modi ji in Gujarat. And then we see that 2014 it remains in Gujarat. Then next page we come and we see that the scheme comes to the center in 2014. In 2014, the scheme does not get approval, but there is a push to create a scheme for the privatization of plantations. That does not happen. In 2015, we see that under Paris Agreement, India provides a commitment that it's going to create a carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons by expanding tree cover. It's the same thing, expanding tree cover to increase carbon sink. And then we see a number of schemes that come after that. From CAMPA guidelines coming in, Green India Mission getting notified, to on next page we see that amendments were made in the draft National Forest Policy. There was an attempt to introduce an amendment of Indian Forest Act, of 1857. All of these were targeting one singular thing: more and more privatization in the forestry sector. In the next page, when we come, and then we see something taking a sort of, a shape, which is the introduction of amendments in the Forest Conservation Act, which tries to change the definition of forest. Next page. And the introduction of accredited compensatory guidelines, which also promote privatization of plantation, and two new schemes come into being, which is the carbon credits and the green credits. Now, India is the only country which has two kind of different contrasting credit schemes. In carbon credits, we at least have one common thing, that we are talking about carbon. But in green credits, next page you can go. In green credits, we have nothing, no common denominator. It's basically saying that if you have destroyed soil, you can totally get a credit for planting a tree. The tree plantation of 1100 hectare can also happen around Flame University, which is a really vast area of the land, right? So any university, any corporate who is doing any kind of plantation will be awarded. Who will facilitate that plantation for the corporate is going to be the State Department. Just next page, next page, next page. Next page. I'm going to just run, just one last one. I want to show, I don't know if this is visible, but the number of corporate players who have participated in the Green Credit Program, not one of them is a civil society group, not one of them is a forest rights group, not one of them is a Gram Sabha, is a community organization. All of these, from NTPC to Power Grid Corporation to India Oil Corporation to NHPC, all of these are also the same people who were participating in other kind of projects which have also impeded the forest rights movement, which have also impeded or impacted the forest dependent communities, which have also displaced those communities. Now the same people who are responsible also for generating emissions, and for causing the climate change will be rewarded with green credits and called eco-champions because they have done pro-planet activities. The reason I bring this in this format is that, one, we can say that, oh, it's a discourse problem, but this is a policy shift and it manifests on ground because these are the same companies that come on our ground, and when we are fighting for the recognition of forest rights, the reason that there is a bureaucratic hurdle, the reason that there is a policy hurdle is because somebody at the top-down level is creating a certain different set of policies, has a different set of interest which they want to advance. It is not the interest of the community. That's why the claims are pending, That's why the rights are getting relinquished. That's why rights are improperly getting recognized. We are also seeing a certain sort of greenwashing, where people who can earn credit by having the privilege and investment of this sort will become eco-champions, but forest-dependent communities who fight the fight in Chhattisgarh for Hasdeo get branded as the other people. So with that, I think I'll just conclude, and thank you. No, it's okay. We can just conclude.
Thank you, Aditi, Very, very interesting presentation. So it is another aspect of Forest Right Act. So you spoke about this green credit, carbon credit, and many other things we will discuss. So the next presentation, I think it is online.
We have an online participant who will be presenting. I request Rachna Devi to start her presentation, if she can hear us.
Hello,
Yeah, hi Rachna. So over to you. Thank you.
is my good morning, everyone. I'm Rachna Devi, doctoral student at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and this paper that I'm presenting is part of my doctoral work, which is based on the common land transfer for the industrial projects. And in this paper, I present how the common land, how it affects the local communities. And so basically, this it's not exactly the forest village, but it is a revenue villages which is located on coastal parts of the Kutch. And it but here in this presentation I argue that the common land resources that are used by local communities in their everyday life are mixed and complex, and it has a polycentricity into its governance and everyday dependence, which leads to an but due to ambiguous and intertwining user rights, when these common land resources are transferred for any development projects, how the local communities experience this entire transition. So in this paper, I like very simply try to explore the from the community perspective, how do they locate all these resources, which is not just forest land, which is not just grazing land, wasteland, but an enmesh of all these resources, and how it affects their everyday life. So, as I already explained, it is in the context of Kutch, Gujarat, coastal villages, which are revenue villages. And the data that I derive for this presentation is based on ethnographic data, which involved extended stay for stay in the affected villages for over 3 years intermittently. And the data that I derive are based on participant observation, in-depth interviews, group discussion, and living with the communities. So here I focus mainly on this, that when we talk of commons, we talk of the recognition of community rights, but based on the everyday experiences of people. Here I try to map out some how they relate to their local resources, and how enmeshed and complex these resources looks like for the local communities. Say for example, the first thing that they gaucher, locally known, which is pasture land, and which is officially recognized as community land, and it is managed by village panchayat. And there is a government resolution which mandates that there should be 40 acre of land per 100 useful animal. Here useful animal is are only those which are used for agricultural purposes as per the GR. Cow, buffalo, and oxes are listed under useful animals. On the contrary, camel, sheep, goats are not listed under the useful animal but non-useful animal because they are not used for the agricultural purposes. In the context of Kutch, which is mainly a semi-arid and arid region, and it relies on livestock keeping, these non-useful animals are predominantly used for livestock keeping and uh, uh, livestock keeping and livestock breeding, and not cow and buffalo, which are uh, used by agriculture pastoralist. Another type of land, that is uncultivable land, fallow land, wasteland, which are almost used as gaucher land, but it does not have any community rights recognized over these resources. Another is the coastal, like intertidal area, where there are sand dunes, sand hills, islands, islets, and marshy land. So this entire network of coastal resources recognizes the fishing rights over these selected spaces which are known as bandar, but it does not but the community rights over this bandar and fishing rights over these resources does not allow a local community to exercise like protection and conservation of these networked resources, which includes creeks and system of creeks and intertidal areas. There are also like shrub forest, and which are declared as rakhal, now called as reserve forest, during the time of princely rules. And these shrub forests were protected, and it was used as buffer zone for the drought periods, and select villages have a grazing right over in these resources. Uh, but these are also migratory stopover for a lot of nomadic communities, because of these, because of their uh, resources which are not a part of their everyday use, such as grazing land, but it is used as a safety net. And mangrove forest here are a very important source of grazing for the Kharai camel, as this area, Kutch has a breed of camel which grazes on the saline vegetation, and this mangrove forest are a very important source of grazing for the Kharai camel. Not just Kharai camel, even for the stall feeding of cow and buffalo, the leaves and seeds of these mangroves are used by the local communities during drought periods, and it also and it some of the communities also collect dry twigs from these areas for firewood collection. However, they precisely um, um, it acts as a grazing sources for the local communities, and it also other than the livelihood option, it also acts as a natural barrier to salinity ingress, protecting the other land resources from salinity ingress and increased salinity of the underground water level, which protects the agricultural land as well as other common land resources. And the last that I am talking about is fallow agricultural land. So because of this, because of the practice of rain-fed agriculture, a lot of agricultural land remains fallow for a certain period of time, which also acts as a which also is used as a common resource for grazing, but but it depends on the relationship with the owner of the land. So here, by mapping these resources, what I'm trying to argue is that communities rely on these resources for everyday use, but when it comes to recognition of the user rights and community rights, it is only the grazing land and which is known as goucher. Community can make a claim over these resources. Other than most of these resources, when it comes to allotment of these resources for the any other development project, there is no say of community or no participation of community in this decision making process. And further I explain how it affects the local communities. So based on the discussion with the, I have tried to map out this, that how they experience this. So when the land allotment process happens, the clearance is sought from
Rachna, please
coastal regulations.
conclude. Rachna, please conclude.
Okay, thank you, sir. So local communities try to so as a communities and how do the communities respond to this is some of them have tried to resist the land allotment processes, but as it is legally within the control of state and no recognition of community rights, they sought to PILs, and PILs are like most of the PILs that are filed from the villages are on the environmental violations and not on the community rights. But I would here focus on one PIL which contests the land transfer, which on the basis of not seeking consent from Gram Sabha and claiming that the and no objection certificate was sought from Gram Panchayat, but it does not involve the consent seeking from Gram Sabha. And the PIL, the verdict of the court here noted that since the Gram Panchayat is an elected body of the village, there is it is obvious that it represents the interest of the villagers, and it does not. The PIL verdict recognizes that there is no need for consent seeking as it is not mandated. First, and second, the inadequacy of the goucher land here in this village is not recognized because the total number of animal that are counted for the counted in the useful animal list are enough for the available goucher. So when it comes to exercising the community rights over these resources, the only option the local communities have is claiming this goucher land. Even within this goucher land, the loopholes into this community claims and do not results into erosion of community resources when these land alienating agencies are here for the community. Though the land is allotted to the industries, the alienation actually happens from the from the side of the state which allots this land, and without the consideration of the local communities, it results into a erosion of local livelihood, traditional livelihood resources, and when these enmeshed commons which are diverted for industrial purposes, it further leads to the depletion of other existing resources. For example, destruction of creeks and marshland and intertidal areas leads to salinity ingression, and it also depletion of the existing common land resources and agricultural land, and it also resulted in shift in cattle livestock keeping from like camel breeding and like grazing a small ruminants to a cow and camel based on the stall feeding and not open grazing. It recognizes the fishing rights over a selected bandars, but destruction of the fish breeding areas resulted into a reduced fish catch and the practice of pagadia fishing, which is based on which is actually fishing in fishing on without using boats and into a creek system, is actually extinct in this villages, and it also affect the dry fishing practices due to like fly ash issues and a lack of space for this for the practice of dry ash. And so I like it this it is to argue that the polycentricity of the commons and lack of community user rights and recognition of local use of the communities is actually resulting into not just loss
Okay,
of
Rachana.
traditional.
We got. Okay, Rachana. Now please conclude with one or two sentences.
It results into erosion of local culture and traditional knowledge on this which is based on these resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachana. A very interesting presentation based on Gujarat. So different types of commons and the contestation, and some commons are recognized, some commons rights are not recognized. So very good presentation. Thank you, Rachana, for sharing your studies with us.
Can also
Then we have Amya Walia.
Yeah, Amia is, and that's me, and then there's also Suleiman, हाँ, वन गुज्जर ट्राइबल युवा संगठन से. तो हम दोनों इंग्लिश और हिंदी में बोलेंगे. अगर आपको, if in case you don't understand anything, we'll be happy to share later or translate. तो हमारा जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन रहा है वो काउंटर मैपिंग द फॉरेस्ट है, डॉक्यूमेंटिंग वन गुज्जर कॉन्जर्वेशन नैरेटिव्स एंड इकोलॉजिकल रिलेशनशिप्स. तो हमारा तो मैं आपको थोड़ा बैकग्राउंड दे देती हूँ. पहले तो मैं FRA के बारे में बात करूँगी क्योंकि ये हमारा फ्रेमवर्क रहा है, द फॉरेस्ट राइट्स एक्ट, कि विद इन दिस क्या विकल्प सोच से हम लैंड टेन्योर को इमेजिन कर सकते हैं. तो जो वन गुज्जर का संबंध रहा है फॉरेस्ट के साथ, उसको हम कैसे इमेजिन कर सकते हैं. तो थोड़ा ब्रीफ दूंगी मैं FRA के बारे में. उत्तराखंड में इम्प्लीमेंटेशन सबसे पुअर है आई थिंक इंडिया में, उत्तराखंड का. बस 2 ही क्लेम्स है जिनको कम्युनिटी फॉरेस्ट राइट टाइटल मिला है. तो ये थोड़ा बैकग्राउंड है. और हम वन गुज्जर कम्युनिटी के बारे में देखें तो वो बहुत सारे सेक्शंस के मतलब सेक्शन 3 के बहुत सारे सब सेक्शंस के अंदर एलिजिबल हैं. IFR के लिए, CFR के लिए, सेक्शन D ग्रेजिंग के लिए, और अभी भी काफ़ी प्रतिशत फॉरेस्ट लैंड में ही रिजाइड करते हैं. उनका मतलब फॉरेस्ट विलेज में उनके घर हैं. तो ये हमारा ब्रॉड फ्रेमवर्क रहा है. और उनको एक टाइटल भी मिला है CFR का, तो उससे जुड़ा भी हमारा काम है. तो ब्रीफ में मैं आपको वन गुज्जर के बारे में थोड़ा बता देती हूँ. तो वन गुज्जर एक नोमैडिक पैस्टोरल कम्युनिटी है, बफेलो हर्डर्स हैं, और वो जम्मू कश्मीर, हिमाचल एंड उत्तराखंड से हैं. उनकी पॉपुलेशन 70,000 है, और उत्तराखंड में देखें तो वो अभी OBC कैटेगरी में आते हैं, पर हिमाचल एंड जम्मू कश्मीर में वो स्केड्यूल ट्राइब में आते हैं। तो इसमें FRA के क्लेम्स में भी डिफरेंस आता है, वो OTFD कैटेगरी में आ जाते हैं। तो इनका यही व्यवसाय जो है वो सीजनल माइग्रेशन और लाइफ स्टॉक रियरिंग का है। तो हमारा जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन का एफर्ट है वो वन गुज्जर ट्राइबल युवा संगठन के ऑब्जेक्टिव से रिलेटेड है कि वो अपना कल्चर, अपना ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज डॉक्यूमेंट करना चाहते हैं। तो इसमें हमारी कोशिश थी कि क्या जो मेन स्ट्रीम नैरेटिव्स हैं जो लोकल मीडिया में मतलब रेगुलरली छापे जाते हैं, लोकल न्यूज़ इज़ very against one Gujjar communities in general. It's a very big issue. They're portrayed as encroachers. उससे जुड़ा हुआ उनका FRA क्लेम भी प्रोग्रेस नहीं करता है, मतलब उनको रोका जाता है फॉरेस्ट में जाने से। तो ये सारी चीज़ें हैं, पर जो वन गुज्जरों की अपना पर्सपेक्टिव है, फॉरेस्ट के साथ रिलेशनशिप है, वो मतलब ज़्यादा बाहर नहीं आता है। तो इसके वजह से हमने ये शुरू किया था। हमारा अप्रोच रहा था कि जो संगठन के जो मेंबर्स हैं, जो बुजुर्ग हैं, उनसे जाके बात करना। और इम्पॉर्टेंटली वन गुज्जर ट्राइबल युवा संगठन का ये प्लान था कि जो गोजरी, अपनी जो लोकल भाषा है, गोजरी भाषा में उनका मतलब उनका रिलेशनशिप क्या है फॉरेस्ट के साथ, वाइल्ड लाइफ के साथ, उसको बाहर ले आना। क्योंकि वो ट्रांसलेशन में ऑफन वो गुम जाता है, लॉस्ट, मतलब इट्स लॉस्ट इन ट्रांसलेशन। सो दैट्स समथिंग दैट दे लाइक वांटेड टू फोकस ऑन। और हाउ डू दे इमेजिन देयर फॉरेस्ट स्पेस, जो ग्रेजिंग का एरिया है, अपना फॉरेस्ट कंपार्टमेंट है, उसको वो कौन सी नज़रिया से देखते हैं, उनका रिलेशनशिप क्या है, ये मेन चीज़ें थी। तो सुलेमान हमारे साथ ऑनलाइन जुड़ पाया, उनको वैसे यहाँ आना था पर उनकी ट्रेन छूट गई। तो वो इस नक्शे के बारे में आपको थोड़ा बताएंगे कि मतलब 5-6 जगह का नाम हमने डाला है जो गुज्जर अपने आप उन्होंने अपने आप नाम दिए हुए हैं अपने फॉरेस्ट कंपार्टमेंट का। तो सुलेमान आप बता दीजिए थोड़ा।
थैंक यू अमी, आपने बोलने का मौका दिया। तो मैं सुलेमान गुज्जर उत्तराखंड से। तो हमने जो ये मैपिंग किया है, ये अपना गोरी रेंज हमारा एक एरिया है, हमने वहाँ का ये मैप किया है। तो इस मैप में ज़्यादातर हमारा गुज्जर नाम हमने अब मैप को दिया है, जो जो गुज्जर अपने नाम रखते हैं। और इसमें हमने जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन किया है उसमें ये भी किया है, देखा है कि कैसे गुज्जर लोपिंग करते हैं और कैसे वो फॉरेस्ट के साथ जुड़े हैं और क्या क्या जंगली जानवरों को उनसे लाभ है। तो इसमें हमने देखा कि गुज्जर जहाँ जाता है सबसे पहले वहाँ अपना पानी के लिए सूटा बनाता है, जिसे गुजरी भाषा में सूटा कहते हैं या पानी का स्रोत बोलते हैं, क्योंकि गुज्जर माइग्रेशन करता रहता है। तो उससे जंगली जो जानवर है वहाँ से उन्हें भी पीने के लिए पानी मिलता है, ऐसी ऐसी जगहों पे जहाँ बिल्कुल पानी खत्म हो गया है। तो बाकी जो गुजरी जो नेम है, इन्हें जंगली जानवरों के नाम से और पेड़ के नाम से ही हम मैपिंग में हमने जो नाम दर्शाया है वो उसी से हमने गुजरी नाम से ही हमने मैप बनाया है। तो इसमें जो गुज्जर कम्युनिटी की जो बेफेलो है, गुज्जरों ने जो भैंस रखी है वो गुजरी नस्ल है और इस बार वो भारत सरकार ने 17वीं नस्ल पे रजिस्टर्ड भी कर दी है। तो इसके लिए वो अपना जो माइग्रेशन या अपना जाने आने के लिए जो रास्ता जो जाती है अपने घर से अपने पानी तक और अपने फोल्डर तक जाती है, तो वहाँ पर एक लाइन भी बनाती हुई जाती है, जिसे वो है जंगल को ये बहुत फायदा होता है। उससे वो फॉरेस्ट लाइन एक बना देते हैं अंदर अंदर, और जिससे फायर लाइन वो बन जाती है। और वो जब आग लगती है जंगलों में, और उस आग को एक पार से दूसरी पार जाने से भी बचाते हैं। और इसके साथ साथ ही जो लोपिंग का जो गुज्जर का इतिहास है, लोपिंग जब गुज्जर करता है तो उसके साथ साथ वो एक टॉप पेड़ पे छोड़ भी देता है, ताकि जो पेड़ बढ़े और अच्छे से ग्रो करे। और बाकी जो पत्ते नीचे डलते हैं, गुजरी बिफलो तो खाती है, उसके साथ साथ जंगली जानवर भी उसके साथ जुड़े हुए हैं और वो भी खाते हैं। लेकिन अभी हाल में उत्तराखंड में ज़्यादातर फॉरेस्ट जो प्लांटेशनें कर रही है वो थोड़ा विपरीत है, क्योंकि वो प्राकृतिक पौधों का नहीं करती, वो ज़्यादातर कंजू पापड़ी और यूकेलिप्टस वगैरह का प्लांटेशन करती है, जो कि धीरे धीरे कंजू पापड़ी के नीचे ग्रासलैंड खत्म हो रहा जा रहा है और बाकी के जो चरागाह है वो भी धीरे धीरे खत्म होते जा रहे हैं। तो इसमें हमने थोड़ा डॉक्यूमेंटेशन किया है हमने अमिया के साथ मिलके, और इसमें हमने ये भी थोड़ा देखा है कि गुज्जर का जो वह है पूरा अपना घर और अंदर रहने का जो तरीका है वो पूरा एकदम प्राकृतिक है, नेचुरल है। वो अपना जो घर बनाता है वो बिल्कुल एकदम लकड़ी और प्राकृतिक मतलब नेचुरल चीज़ों से ही बनाता है, उसमें किसी भी प्रकार की कोई भी किसी प्रकार की बाहरी मटेरियल या कंक्रीट वगैरह कुछ यूज नहीं करता है। तो इस प्रकार से हमने डॉक्यूमेंटेशन किया गुज्जर के बारे में, तो हमें ये भी थोड़ा पता लगा कि गुज्जरी जो बिफेलो है वो फॉरेस्ट के साथ साथ फॉरेस्ट में सीड्स डिप्रेशन का कार्य भी करती है, मतलब पौधों को एक जगह से दूसरी जगह पे बीजों को ले जाना आना। वो जब वो चुगने के लिए जाती है तो वो एक जगह से दूसरी जगह पे करती है, तो वो सीड्स डिप्रेशन का भी एक जगह से दूसरी जगह पे ले जाने का कार्य करती है। तो इस मैप में हमने वो सब कुछ कवर करने का कोशिश किया है जो गुजरी बफेलो के साथ और वन गुजरों के साथ साथ जुड़े हुए जो मुख्य है, जैसे जंगली जानवरों का और गुजरों का क्या रिश्ता एक दूसरे से है, वो सब हमने इसके अंदर मैप में थोड़ा दिखाने की कोशिश की है।
थैंक यू।
बाकी अमिया थोड़ा
ठीक है, थैंक यू सुलेमान। जैसे सुलेमान बता रहे हैं जो मतलब नाम दिए हैं अलग जगहों के, जैसे एक नाम है हाथी का चट्टान, तो उसका मतलब है वो अपने फॉरेस्ट कंपार्टमेंट में एक एरिया है जहाँ जैसे रॉक माउंट्स है सॉल्ट के, और हाथी वहाँ रेगुलरली आता है मतलब सॉल्ट लेने के लिए। तो हाथी का गुजरों के साथ जंगल में होना इज़ अ नॉर्मल अकरेंस, तो वो कोएग्जिस्टेंस का एक साइट का एग्जाम्पल हो जाता है। तो ऐसे ही जैसे हमने मतलब अलग वन गुज्जरों से बात की, उन्होंने समझाया कि हमारे जो सोसाइटी में रोल्स हैं वो तीन प्रकार के हैं। एक है माई, एक है काई और एक सियाने, और सॉरी मतलब हाँ तीन में ही हो जाएगा। और उन्होंने बताया कि सियाने जो है हमें डायरेक्ट करते हैं, गाइड करते हैं कि हमें कहाँ से घास लाना चाहिए। माई जो है उनका रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी रहता है पूरा पशुओं को देखना शुरुआत से मतलब अंत तक। एंड जो काई है which जो usually are the women of the society, they are the most knowledgeable about the different varieties of grass and are responsible for correcting them. तो मतलब सबका रोल इतना स्पेसिफिकली जुड़ा हुआ है फॉरेस्ट से, लाइफ स्टॉक रियरिंग से, तो ये बहुत क्लियरली इससे मतलब इनके एग्जाम्पल से आता है। और जैसे सुलेमान बता रहा था लॉपिंग के बारे में कि उनका एक टेक्निक रहता है, उनकी अपनी समझ रहती है लॉपिंग के बारे में, तो उससे रिलेटेड आप कंपेयर करोगे लॉपिंग का मीनिंग को, तो इन इंग्लिश इट मीन्स टू कट ब्रांचेस ऑफ अ ट्री, बट इफ़ यू सी गोजरी में इसका जो मतलब सुलेमान बता पाएगा पात बढ़नों का। सुलेमान आप बताना चाहेंगे कि पात बढ़नों का मतलब क्या है? अच्छा सॉरी, वो बता रहे हैं कि समय समाप्त है। पर
आप समराइज प्लीज 2 मिनट में साहब।
ठीक है श्योर, ओके ठीक है,
बता दीजिए 1 मिनट में बता दीजिए उसको।
हाँ सुलेमान आपको बताना हो पात बढ़ने का तो
1 मिनट में बता दीजिए आपका।
ओके तो लोपिंग करने का पात बढ़ना यानी कि इसको बोलते हैं लोपिंग करना। तो लोपिंग करना जो रहता है वो पेड़ का जो टॉप रहते हैं उन्हें छोड़ दे जाता है हर सीजन में जब लोपिंग करते हैं नवंबर, दिसंबर और जनवरी के महीनों में, ताकि पेड़ थोड़ा बड़ा हो जाए और बाकी शाखाओं को काट लिया जाता है और पेड़ के 3-4 टॉप छोड़ दिए जाते हैं और उनसे ही लोपिंग वो सोचते हैं कि हमारा पेड़ अगली बार थोड़ा और बड़ा ग्रोथ हो जाए और हमारे पशुओं के लिए और फोल्डर ज्यादा लगे इस पे। तो दूसरे पेड़ को काट लिया जाता है लोपिंग के लिए, लेकिन टॉप में 2-3 टहनियाँ छोड़ दी जाती है। तो यही पेड़ का एक हिस्सा तिहाई बचाना होता है और ऐसे ही पूरा फॉरेस्ट में वो लोपिंग करते हैं वन गुज्जर।
Thank you.
So we are four presentation. So what started as a working of Forest Right Act, then in Gujarat study, then climate change, then this Pari Garwal, so many interesting presentation on the working of Forest Right Act and those who are depending on forest. So now we can collect 2-3 questions. Now, no time, nahi. Okay, okay.
Apologies,
Thank you,
everyone.
thank you.
Sorry for this delay in start that led to a abrupt finish. I hope you have a lot of questions. You can ask each of the presenters outside the room. Next, we are going to have a panel discussion, but before that, a couple of announcements that I have to make. There's a Wi-Fi guidance which is pasted on a A4 paper outside each room. You may please register accordingly, and every half an hour the system admin will be enabling these accesses in the groups, so that you can do that. There's a QR code for Linktree which is also pasted, and which will provide you the access to all important info on the ILDC, including updates on the programs. The third is the all panelists and presenters should upload their PPT in a link, right? And I will be sharing the link to you in some time. Thank you.